Hi, good evening, everyone. So we will start our course now. In the previous lectures, we have studied how to write the if-else loop, right? And the while loop. In the while loop, we have two categories. The first one is a while loop, the normal while loop. That is this one, like while this one, like the while. Okay, sorry, let me change my pen. Why is the pen? Is there anything wrong? Not disappointing. Weird. What about? Oh, recently it's quite weird. What's the problem with my pen? Please wait a moment. Okay, it's still using the laser point. Okay. All right, let me continue. The first category for the while loop is while something, right? There is a Boolean expression. If this is true, while something is true, and then we do the while block between the following curly braces. Another one is this one, do while loop. That means you have to at least do at one time of the curly break, the loopy body, and then you go to the while loop, the while condition, and then at here, you should determine whether this Boolean expression is true or false. So in this case, at least the loopy body has been executed for at least one time. If the Boolean expression is true, and then some more times will be conducted with the loopy body. This is for the while loop. And today we are going to introduce the for loops. The for loops is almost the same thing with while loop. Sometimes we can convert the while loop into the for loop, and we can convert the for loop to the while loop. They are sometimes it's equivalent, sometimes not. Okay, it depends on the scenarios. However, there is a advantage for the for loops, that is we can control the loopy continuing conditions with the initial action. Okay, it might be a little bit abstract. Let's looking at the pseudocode in the left side. In the left side, it is a for loop with the first line, we say the head of the for loop. The first thing between the first before the first semicolon is the initial action, which is mapping to the right hand side. The I is equal to 0. This is the initial action. That means when we begin the for loop, the I is supposed to be 0. And the second parameter is the loop condition, continuation condition. And in the right hand side, it's mapped to the I smaller than 100. That means the for loop is valid when I is smaller than 100. And in this case, we will execute the system out println welcome to Java, or you may write some other code there. Only when the I is no longer smaller than 100, and then the for loop will be terminated. And the last parameters after the semicolon in the for head, that is the action after each iteration. And mapping to the right-hand side, it is the I++. This is the action after each iteration. That means each time when we finished executing this round of the code, in this case, it is each time when the program output the welcome to Java, and then the I will increment by 1. After that, it will go back to the loop body to execute another time. So we can using a program to trace the for loop here. Initially, we declare the I out of the for loop there. After that, we initialize the variable I into 0. That means now I is 0, and we are starting from the first iteration, which is counted by the 0. And since I smaller than 2 is true, currently I is 0 at this time. So that means the Boolean expression I smaller than 2 is true. And then we go into the loop body, which is to print the welcome to Java. After that, we go to the third parameter, that is I++. That means we have to execute adjustment statement. Since previously I is initialized as 0, right? And then after increment by 1, it is now is 1. And then we go back to the loop body and we examine that whether I is smaller than 2 is still true. At this time, I is 1. And I is also smaller than 2. So in this time, we still print out the welcome to Java. And after that, we execute the I++ again. Now I is 2. And then we go back and we compare it with 2. Okay, now the I smaller than 2 is false because I currently is 2. So in this case, we are no longer execute the loop body and we get out of the loop and execute the next statement of the loop. So we have to know that the initial action in a for loop can be a list of zeros or more comma separated expressions. And all the expressions only valid in the very first beginning of the for loop. After the beginning of the for loop, we no longer need the initial action, although they are here or it is here. And the action after each iteration in a for loop can be a list of zeros or more comma separated statements. Like in the bottom, it says I jaja, j jaja. That means there are 2 different variables, right? 2 different variables and increment by 1 individually. It is allowed. So therefore, the following 2 for loops are correct. And they are really used in practice, however, because usually we write very standard code, which we don't write the system out print lane I++ at the third place in the head of the for loop. And sometimes we don't write the 2 different variables like I jaja, j jaja in the third place of the for head. But we should know that they are allowed, although it is not commonly used in practice. And if the loop continuation condition in the for loop is omitted, that means we do not write anything in between. For example, in the A, there are nothing there, right? Sorry. That means if there is nothing writing in the initialization, the Boolean expression or the actions after the loop body. So that means everything in the 3 places are implicit true. Thus, the statement given below in A is an infinite loop because it doesn't determine a condition when the for loop is terminated. Nevertheless, in this case, it's better for us to use the while loop instead to avoid the confusion. And the A block and the B block are equivalent. And you have to be careful when you adding a semicolon at the end of the for clause. For example, there, it will incur a logic error there as the loop body is a common mistake before the loop body in here. We don't suppose there is a semicolon after the for clause. They should be concatenated together. And same thing for the while loop. While something is true, and then we write the curly braces immediately rather than write a semicolon there. However, in the do while loop, in the bottom of this slide there, it is correct. It is because the loop body is before the while expression clause. So in this case, it is correct. So you have distinguished which one is the correct format to write the semicolon, which one is not. But I think it's quite easy because as long as you take the while loop as a whole body and that you don't separate the while clause and the curly braces code block. So there shouldn't be a termination, I mean the semicolon to separate them. And that is the same thing for the do while loop. As the do while they are getting together and form a certain kind of code block. So after the block, we should place a semicolon. That's why the do while is correct in this case. So there are three forms of loop statements: while, do while, and for. They are expressively equivalent. And for example, in the while loop in A block, like while the loop continuation condition, like while something true, and then we do the loop body, it is equivalent with the for loop in the B block. Like for, we initialize something, and then we do the loop continuation condition, and then there may exist some after actions, right? So after the first clause, we do the loop body. In this case, the A block is equivalent for the B block. And in the downside, a for loop in A, which is for an initial action, the loop continuation condition, and action after each iteration, and we do the loop body. This block is equivalent to the while loop in the B block, which is you have an initialized action out of the while block, right? After that, after the initial action, we do the while loop. And in this case, the action after each iteration is defined within the while loop. So I think in next week when we are doing our lab, the things would be much clearer. So if you are still confusing about this, it's fine, no problem. Just taking the questions with you, and then next time when we are coding, and everything would become more clear. And there are some recommendations for you that use one that is the most intuitive and comfortable with you. Like a for loop may be used if the number of repetition is known. For example, when you need to print a message like 100 times, and then you know how many times you should print, right? So in this case, you should using the for loop. And a while loop may be used if the number of repetitions is not known. So you only know while some conditions is true, you have to repeat that statements, repeat such a behavior. But you don't know how many times they will be. So in this case, you may do while loop. And a third case is that a do while loop, they can be used to replace a while loop if the loop body has to be executed before testing the continuation condition. Or you can thinking in such a way that means the loop body should be at least do one time. So for the while loop, if the condition is not satisfied, so the loop body maybe not be executed for 0 times, right? But for the do while, it is certain that at least one time of the loop will be executed. That is the difference. And there are some other recommendations for you, like minimizing the numeric errors in this slide. What is numeric errors? It involving the floating point numbers that are inevitable. This section will discuss how to minimize such errors through an example. For example, suppose we assume a series that start with the point 0.1 and ends with the 1.0. The numbers in this series will be incremented by 0.01 as follows, like 0.01 plus 0.02 plus 0.03 and so on. So there is such a problem, like please write a program that prompts the user to enter 2 positive integers and finds their greatest common divisor. The solution is that suppose you enter 2 integers, 4 and 2, right? Their greatest common divisor is 2. And suppose you enter 2 integers, 16 and 24. Their greatest common divisor is 8. So how do you find the greatest common divisor? Let the 2 input integers to be n1 and n2, and you know that number 1 is a common divisor for everybody, for every number. But it may not be the greatest common divisor. Usually it is supposed to be the smallest whole number, right? So you can check whether k, in this case, k should be supposed to be the 2, 3, 4, and so on. It is a common divisor for n1 and n2 until k is greater than n1 or n2. This is the background. So in this case, you may find some numerical errors because you are using a division operator, like when you are trying 4/3, right? It might not be a whole number. It might be 0 with some reminder, like 4/3 is supposed to be 1.33333. This is a decimal floating point number. So in this case, you should be very careful how to, when using the correct integer type, to take such a variable. And that's for it. And then we will skip some of the problems for this slide. And then we will discuss some other keywords in the loop blocks. For example, we may using the break and continue in our loop body. Okay, here we have two Java code listed. I will using the slides rather than go to the website itself. So as we can see, the break for the test break code there, when we are writing the break inside of the while, here it says, okay, we have initialized the sum to be 0, the number to be 0, and while number is smaller than 20, we will do something. And the something refers to increment the number by 1, and we sum the number. And if the sum is over 100, and then we will break. That means in this case, right, we have while, and inside the while, we have an if statement. Since while loop only allowed one criteria to stop the while loop, which means the number should smaller than 20. But what if, I sum the numbers from 0 plus 1 plus 2 until 20, and before 20, the sum is already over 100, and I want to terminate the while loop in advance. So in this case, we use an if statement there, that if the sum is over 100, and then we use the keyword break to break the while loop. After the break, we continuing execute the codes after the whole while loop body. So that means here, once the sum is over 100, we will jump from the break directly to the system output, printing the number is something. Even though at this time the number is still smaller than 20, we no longer execute the while loop again. That is a break. And how about to continue? Let's say in this scenario that we have sum, right? We have number. We are going to accumulate the different numbers starting from 0, 1, 2, 3. However, we don't want to count the number which is equal to 10 and 11. That means we are going to accumulate 1 plus 2 plus 3, plus 9. After 9, we are going to plus 12. So how can we skip the 10 and 11? So in this case, we use the keyword continue. So in the case listed in our slide, it uses a if statement that if number is equal to 10 and or, this is a relational operator, right? And this is or. As long as one of the condition is met, we will execute the continue keyword. That means if the number is 10, we do not execute the sum plus equal number. We do not execute this line. Rather, we will directly go back to the number plus. And then we check whether the number plus is 10 or 11. If it is still one of 10 or 11, we still continue. That means we skip the number plus equal number. We will skip it. And we will return to the beginning of the loop body. That is the continue. And there is another code. Okay, here it doesn't have the code here, so I need to go to the website. Wait a moment. please. I think there, okay, guess number one time. We should find the guess number using break. This one? Let me check. It's supposed to not this one. Okay, fine. Since let's do the animation for the continue and the break. Okay, let's start the animation. For the keyword break, we first execute this line, right? And then we initialize the sum. And after that, we initialize the number. And then we come to our while loop, right? The while loop, the continuation condition is the number is smaller than 20. So since currently the number is 0, number is smaller than 20 is true. In this case, the loop body will be executed. So we go to the next line. The number is incremented by 1, and the statement adds the number to sum. And then we test if the sum is over 100 or not. Currently, it is smaller than 100, right? So it is false. We do not do the break. And then we go back to the while loop. Here we test the loop continuation condition again. The number is smaller than 20, so we increase the number, and it becomes 2. And then we sum the number, and we compare the sum with 100. Okay, it is still false, so we go back to the while loop. We never enter the if statement there. So let me execute it quickly. Okay, we are almost there. Currently, the sum is 78. And then it becomes 91. And currently the number is 13. And if statement is still smaller than sum, so we don't enter the if statement. And we go back to the while loop. And currently the number becomes the 14, right? And the sum is becoming 105. So in this case, the if statement is valid now because the sum is over 100. And so we will execute the break statement. Okay, we execute the break statement. What is our next step? Are we going back to the while loop again? No. Instead, we will executing the 13 lines. That means we jump out of the while loop there. And then the statement displays the number and the sum. And the program is finished now. And that is for the break statement. And let's try the test continuation. So things will be different, a little bit different for the continue keywords. Let's take the animation and track the execution. So currently, we start the execution from the main method. Now, we have sum, right? We have number, and then we compare the number with 20, and we increase the number by 1. Currently, the number is not equal to 10 and is not equal to 11, so we skip the if statement codes, right? And we sum the numbers now. After this line, we will go back to do our while loop. So we should execute the 6th line. 11. Okay, it says it goes to the 11, but after 11, it goes to be the 6. And then we increase the number. We're still comparing the number with 10 and 11. Okay, now they're not the same. So we sum the number together. And after this line, we still calculate the 11. Okay, now it's correct now. And we continuing do that. Until the number is supposed to be 10 or 11. Currently it's 5. 6. Okay, now currently the number is 9. And after that, once we re-enter the while loop, right, the number become 10. So in this time, the number satisfy the number is equal to 10 or number is equal to 11. As long as one of the Boolean expression is satisfied, we will get into the if statement, that is continue. So what if I do the continue? So after the continue, which line should be executed after this line? Is it 11 or 10? I think it's supposed to be the 11. Yes, correct. But how about 10? As you can see, we no longer take the 10 into the sum, right? We skip it. We do not count the 10 into the sum. We can review it in the number is equal to 11. As you can see here, it satisfies the if statement Boolean expressions again, right? And then we do the continue. So after the line 9, we go to the line 11 directly. Rather than go to 10. We do not go to 10. As you can see, it keeps 45, right? And after 12, let's see. After 12, okay, the sum increased from the 45 to 57. That means it counts normally into the sum. So that is the demo for the break and continue. I'm trying to find the guessing numbers program, but it is not listed in the website, so we will not discuss it. And here is the interesting questions again. Problem: checking the palindrome. It is a pretty classical questions in LeetCode. And let's have a look. What is a palindrome? We say a string is a palindrome if it reads the same forward and backward. The words mom, dad, and noon, for instance, are all palindromes. The problem is to write a program that prompts the user to enter a string and reports whether the string is a palindrome. One solution is to check whether the first character in the string is the same as the last character. If so, check whether the second character is the same as the second to last character. This process continues until a mismatch is found, or all the characters in the string are checked, except for the middle character if the string has an odd number of the characters. So let's have a look over the program. I will switch to the Chrome. Okay, here is the palindrome. Let's go through this code. Start animation. The program will start the execution from the main method. And we create an object to a scanner. We create a scanner object for performing the console input and assigns the object to the reference variable named input. And then we enter string like mom, right? Okay, we have a mom. Now the string s is equal to mom. And next, we set the lower index of the character in the string is 0, which refers to the m. And then we set the index of the last character in the string to be 2, which is equivalent to the length of the string minus 1, because the index in Java and C++, I think Python is the same. They all starting from the 0. We say they are 0-based index. So in this case, we then declare a Boolean variable, and this statement initializes the variable that to indicate whether the is palindrome to be true or not. We go to the next line. While the low index is smaller than high, that means we have 2 indexes, right? The left one is smaller than the right one. So we compare the character at the low. Since low and the high are the index. Index refers to something, to pointing to the memory to indicate its location. So we compare if the character in the string s, which refers to the low, we say that is the 0, the index is not equal to the 2 index. And then we set its palindrome as false. Since they are equal, we will not execute the if statement. Rather, we get out of the while loop and we shift low. We increment the low plus plus. Initially, low is 0, right? And then after we increase the low, it becomes 1. And also high will get decremental by 1. That is from 2 to 1. And now currently the low and high are pointing to the same position, which is 1. And execute the next code, which is the statement to check if low is smaller than high. However, currently they are equal. So in this case, we will skip the whole while loop and go to the line 30. And we check if palindrome is true or not. As we can see, its palindrome is true, right? So we will output that the string is the palindrome. So which line will be executed after this line? Now, currently, the cursor is highlighted in the line 20. The next line will be executed at 30. Okay, you are correct. So let's conduct it. So the next line is mom is a palindrome. That is the end of this demo. And we also have another animation to demo the break and continue keywords. Okay, let me start the animation. Here, it's supposed the number of prime is 50. We can, okay, let's set it 50. So let's start the code. And the program starts from the execution from the main method. We declare the two constants for the primes and the primes per line, displayed per line. And we count the number of prime numbers as a count, and we declare a number to test for primeness. And we write a line of code to output something. This is the statement display a message. So here we will get into a while loop, right? The statement checks if the count is smaller than the number of primes, which means it checks the count. Count is 0, it's smaller than 50, right? As 0 is still smaller than 50, so we will get into the while loop. And we initialize its prime as true here. So what will be its prime after the loop body is finished? Here, let's have a look over the if statement. It says if divisor is 2 and divisor smaller than number over 2. Number over 2. The number is 2. Number over 2 is 1. So divisor is smaller than 1. However, the divisor currently is 2. So that means the for clause is invalid. In this case, we will not get into the for loop. And after the for loop, the S prime is keep the same, right? Since we don't do anything, we don't execute anything. So S prime stays same. Okay, you are correct. And since we skip the for loop there, we go to here. If it's prime, since it's prime, it's true here, right? So we will go to the if-else statement. In the if-else statement, in the line 25, we will increase the count. So currently the count is 1. And we will get into the nested if-else statement. Now we have count is 1, and we have line of primes per line is 10. He declared in this line, right? So 1 over 10 is supposed to be 0, right? So it's supposed to be 0. So we will print the number and advance to the new line. So let's click the next to see. The number, and the number will be increased to 2, to 3. And after 3, you can check if the new number is prime. And then we will go back to the while loop in the beginning. Okay, I would say that it is not a simple program, and you can always access to the demo through our Brightspace. You open the content and you can go to the other resource, right? You have the supplemental, and you open the examples from the introduction to Java programming, and then you can find all the online web demo there. So if you have interest, you can click it and run the animations by yourself step by step. But now I will skip the remaining steps. Okay, that is for the Chapter 5, Section 2. And then we will quickly go through the last slide for the logical operators. Actually, we have let me see. Actually, I think we have already mentioned a lot for the do and the while loop. So I think it's better for us to have a look over the switch. Okay, let me get the correct page for the switch. Switch is for the multiple selection statement that performs different actions based on the possible values of a constant integral expressions of type, short, int, or char, right? We actually we have talked about it, in our last lectures. So, but we have to still reviewing it, combining it with some other statements together. So there are something we have to notice that the end of file indicator is a system-dependent keystroke combination, which the user enters to indicate that there is no more data to input. Usually on Unix, Linux is for Mac users, you can press the Control and the D together to terminate it. And for Windows systems, you can using the Control Z to indicate there is no more data to input in the program. We will demo it. And in this example, right, it is the letter grade Java. here we initialize some of the things. The first is we initialize a total and we assign it to be 0. It's the sum of grade. And then we initialize a variable that is the grade counter, which means the number of grades entered. And then we initiate the A, B, C, D count, which counts of the A grades, B grades, C grades. Actually, the first site for this program, it looks like this program is to counting how many A, how many B, how many C in this class, right? So let's moving forward. And then it declare a scanner object input to read the user input. And then it has some system output printf. It's a formatted output, like enter the integer grades in the range of 10 and 100 to 100, and type the end of file indicator to terminate the input. Okay, it gave us a certain kind of indication to terminate the input. After our input, everything will go into the while loop. Here, the input dot has next means that we continually read the next line of our input there. And once we read the next line, input dot next int, right? The input dot has next means that it doesn't terminate it. That means it doesn't reach the end of file indicator in our console. So as long as we didn't reach that line, our input will be fetched by the scanner input and then transferred to the variable grade. And once the grade is assigned the value, the total will be used to sum all the grades there, add grade to total. And then the grade counter will increment it by 1, as we are using the grade counter to count the total number of students for this class. And then once we have the grade, right, we will divide them into different groups for different letter grades. For example, here we use the grade to over 10, divide by 10, to separate them into different groups. If the grade over 10 is 9, that means the student is getting grades of 90 something, right? And then it will execute the block 9. However, in this case, nothing should be executed there. So the code will be fall back to the case 10. That means if the grade over 10 is 110, and the A count will be ++. Otherwise, it will exit and switch to the other students. And if the next time my input for the grades is 80 something, right? 86, and over 10, we're supposed to get 8. So our codes will match to the third one, the third case 8, right? The third one is case 8. In this case, the big count will increment by 1 and break. Break means that we will exit this loop and switch it to the other round. So next time when I read something is like 71, right? 71 over 10 is 7. So it matches the first case. And then the C count will be executed, incremented by 1, and then break. In such a thing, once we have finished, we will displays the grade report. And everything will display, like the display number of A grades, display the number of B grades and the C grade. So that means the distribution of the grades will be reported by this program. For example, here it shows us a demo for the grades here, like type the end of file indicator to terminate the input. So we enter our grades like 99, 92, 40, 45, 57, something, until we enter the Control Z. I think this is for Windows. We input the Control Z. For Mac, it's supposed to be, let's get back. For Mac, it's supposed to be Control D. This is a little bit different, but you have to always remember. For Mac, it's Control D. For Windows, it's Control Z. And once we enter the things displayed in the slides, and then we will have our grade report, right? And it will indicate the distribution. Like there are 4 A's in our class and 1 B, 2 C, 1 D, and 2 F there. And let me check whether I should move forward or... Okay, it's better for me to write this code first because it's a little bit simpler than the following one. Okay, I cannot copy. So in this case, I should write my own code. Okay, let me open my IntelliJ. Oh, sorry. I opened the Intelli pie chart. Okay, this is my pie chart. Well, for those students who are not familiar with coding, now you can watch the video focusing on how I write my code. Here, to implement the letter grade program, I should firstly new a Java class there, right? New a Java. Why there is no Java? Okay. Oh, here I should click on the source file. And then Java, we say that is letter grade, right? Okay, we have created the letter grade class to implement our code. Then we input the PSVM, the shortcut for the main method, so that we can implement our main logic. Here, as per the slides, we should initiate a total grade counter, A, B, C, D, F counter, and a scanner. Okay. Let me get back. So we declare a total. We initialize it as 0. This is the sum of the grades. And we initialize a variable for the grade counter, which refers to the number of students we inputted. And we also initialize it to be 0. And after that, we declare the A, B, C, D different counters to count different grades. A count, say it's 0, right? And then we copy it. And we change it A, B, C, D, E, right? Okay, we don't have E, we have F. So that's the counter. And then it says we should use the user input. So we declare a scanner object class. We declare an input so that we can use it to read the console input. New scanner. Okay, we are very familiar with this line of code, right? We have been practiced for a lot of time. So system.in and add. So let's check what are we going to input now. So here we should first give a user prompt, and we change it to F because we are going to format the user output. Here is supposed to be a percentage symbol S. It is a placeholder, and which stands for the first line of the strings there. It stands for enter the integer grades in the range 0 to 100. Okay, it stands for the percentage S stands for this line of string. However, we have several strings. So after the symbol percentage with an N, that means it will change a line. So we will have another string, another new line. And that matches to the second string, which is type the end of file in the indicator to terminate input. Okay, here the second string, right? After the comma, the second one will be replaced. No, I mean this S, the second percentage symbol will be replaced by the second sentence after the comma here. Well, we still have several new lines. So let's write the double S, the percentage S, percentage N, with another one. So we can write them into different lines. So it would be easy for us to visualize. Since we don't, I suppose that you guys do not use the Linux and also the Mac, right? So I will only put Mac OS there. On Mac OS, type Control D. Then press Enter. On Windows, type Ctrl Z, then press enter. So let's run it. No, this is backwise. This is backwise. This is not. Okay. This is for now. This is user output, and it seems everything is correct. So we will continue. After the user prompt, and we will get into the true while loop there. And then while something is true, right? While input has next. That means the input has not got terminated by the Control D and Control Z. This is something you have to also memorize by yourself. This is the method API. So just remember it. And inside the while loop, we declare a grade, which is fetched by the scanner object, that is input dot next int. This is the user input for the grades. And once we fetch the grades of the student, we sum them. We sum the grade to the total. And we use the self increment to increase the grade counter by 1. So after we have done the overall thing, we will get into the switch statement. In the switch statement, we will calculate the grade over 10. That means we divide the grades into 10 different groups. For different groups, we match them into a specific switch cases. Here we say if the grade over 10 is matched to the case 9, we do nothing. It's a comma. And then we go to the case 10. As in this case, case 9 and case 10, they are fall into the same block. And then we will conduct plus a count. That means the students whose grade over 10 matches 9 or 10 will be counted towards the A count. And once this student has been counted, we will break the switch statement, and we will fetch another round of grade for the students. So here we will write the following cases. If the cases is 8, right? Maybe I think I can also use copy paste. We have A, we have B. B is matched to case 8. So case 7 is C. Case 6 is D. So we don't have E, we only have F, right? Then we can write the default course. The default means it doesn't match anything before it. So the default thing is, as long as it is not matched to 9, 10, 8, 7, 6, and then it matched to the default. For the default, we will increase the F count and then break. Okay, then this is done with the switch statement. Once we have done it, that means the while loop has been executed, done. So we will starting after the while statement. Can I? Okay. I can shorten it into one line. Unexpanded. And so here we get the user output to indicate, oh, now we are going to the grade report now. Here, if grade counter is not 0, that means we have counted some students' grades, right? So since as long as it is not 0, then we will calculate, like we declare an average that stands for the overall average. So we use the total over grade counter to calculate the average score. But since the total and the grade counter, they are integer, right? So we cannot give integer divide by integer directly assign the result to the double because they might be different. So here we should do the type conversion. The way to do it is just to put the expected data type before the formulas. So here we will get our average score. And then let's output. Total of the grades and the percentage D is referred to the grade counter. That is the number of students, also the number of grades. And then we get back here. Okay, it's supposed to be F. The total of the number of grades entered is so the second one is the total grades. Total. And we should sort plus average is average. Okay, what's the problem? Okay, the F is not entered. Now, since we have the average, after that, we have to output the ABCD's numbers. So here, sort F. I will say that the format for this problem is a little bit complex, and I cannot copy the code directly and have to type everything by myself. So makes I'm a little bit slower, but it's okay. Okay, the first $sign N means that create a new line. And after the new line, the $S is referred to the sentence here. Number of students who received each grades. We use a comma. That means we will have a new line, right? So here we should have another percentage n. That means create a new line. And after that, we will display the string and the number, which reference to the string is A. The number is A count. Okay, perfect. So we will have A, B, C, D, F, right? A, B, C, D, F. A, B, C, D, F. So A, B, F. Here we will also increase the same number of the parameters A, B, C, D, F. Okay, perfect. Sometimes I'm also lazy, so I use the copy paste. So that means if the grade counter is not 0, we will output this thing. Otherwise, else we can print something like no grade were entered. And that's the end of this program. So let's run it to try. Now, the prompt indicates me to enter something. So let me get back to the slide. What should I input there? I should input 99, 92, 45, 57, 63, 71, 76, 85, 90, 100. Okay, perfect. And after that, this is the thing. We have to enter the end of file indicator. So I'm using the Windows. So as you can see, for Windows, I should input the Control Z there. What is the output of the Control Z? Control Z. But in my end, it doesn't have the output. That's quite weird. So let me manually input the symbol and the Z. Let me try. Oh my God. It throws an error. So that means I cannot do that? Okay, let me try it. Again. Suppose I only have one people. Oh, that is Control D. For Windows, it's Control D. Am I wrong? No. Okay, I don't know why the slides make some mistakes. It's because I'm using Windows. Seems that the Control D is the Control D is the correct end of file indicator. So let me change it. I'm not sure Mac OS whether it's D or Z. So I will only put DZ. I will put DZ here. You can try by yourself. So let me try to rerun. Stop and rerun. Rerun it. So according our slides, I should enter 99, 92, 45, 57, 33, 71, 76, 85, 90, 100. And then end of file indicator in Windows, it is press the Control and D at the same time. So it will be terminated automatically and the grade report will be show up. That is the grade report. The total of the 10 grades is 778 and the class average is 77.80. And the number of students who receive each grade is A is 4, B is 1, C is 2, D is 1, F is 2. Okay, I have to admit that it doesn't look good, right? But it's fine. We can always add the symbol percentage n to indicate a new line. So in this case, let me try again. Okay, I have these inputs, right? Control D. Okay, perfect. This looks much better than before. And that is the switch statement that it will take the program here, calculate the result, and match the result with the keywords after the case. Case 9, case 10. And we should be aware that the result here, it can be integer, it can be a char, a character, or even it can be a string. So in our next week's lab, we will demonstrate more. But for today's course, it's only a small, simple demo here. And that is for today's course. So if you have any questions, you can state, especially for those who haven't done with the debugger homework. If you don't know how to do it, you can come to me. Because I haven't seen anyone do that. And the due time is on 31. It's because I'm afraid that some of you may not know that, may take some longer time to practice or going to the office hour. If you have questions, you can always come to me. I can teach you how to do the homework or even in the quiz exams. For me, the grades is nothing. As long as you submit the homework, you do the experiment, it's always be guaranteed. So don't worry about grades and don't worry about asking me something you don't understand. Just let me know. I can teach. Although I may admit that I'm not a good lecturer, but as long as you ask, I will let you know. Okay? So if you have any questions, you can come to me. Otherwise, you are free to go now as we don't have the break. So our course can stop earlier.
Thank you very much, Professor. Have a good night.
Professor, I have a question about the homework real quick. Not like in general. If you are still here.
Okay, good night.
Professor, I have a question. Hello?
Thank you.
Professor,
Hi.
Professor,
Yeah.
how's it going? I
Uh,
have a quick question.
yeah.
I don't know if you mentioned it before, but does this course have a midterm?
Oh, we don't have midterm, but we have
Okay.
exam 2 and exam 3.
And when is that next week?
Yeah, it's the same thing as the exam 1, but I'm thinking that the exam 2 may be after the spring break.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
Thank
yeah.
you.
So you can have more time to practice because there are several. I'm going to do 2 more labs there.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Thank you, Professor. Good night.
it's okay.
Professor, I have a question too, if that's okay.
Okay.
So like the homework that we have, like, okay, I know it's like not really homework. Are we supposed to like, I asked this last time, but I wasn't really like sure on it. So the homework, the assignments, like chapter 1 and stuff, are we supposed to just like read them or do we like do all the questions in them?
Actually, for the homework, right?
Yeah.
It's in the assignment, right?
Yeah, it's an assignment. Like it says chapter 1 is due like what, next week? I was curious,
Uh,
like, is it like, am I supposed to like send all like the work that I do for it, or like how does it work?
well, actually, anything, I don't know actually, because they asked me to give you some homework, but I was just thinking that if you're taking any notes, or if you, or even if you don't have notes, you just let me know you have read that chapter. That is enough.
Oh, okay. Cause I do understand like if you actually read the chapter, then you wouldn't have to need the homework because you're doing well on the exams and stuff like that, right?
But if you have done the homework for the chapters, if you are referring to the books, textbooks, the exercise, that is a lot, right? But what I'm expecting you is like, for example, in the exam 1, you may make some mistakes there, right? You just need to write, oh, where I made mistake, where is like, I should, how to define, how to how to declare a variable that is integer I is equal to 1, or you may not remember I suppose you don't remember how to write the code for the scanner, right? And then you should write in your notes that the way to create a scanner to fetch the user input is scanner input is equal to new scanner braces system.in, something like that. It's just the notes,
Oh, okay. So it's just like
not.
notes of what like I've messed up or anything I need like work on. Okay.
Yeah. It's pretty simple. It's not something that I don't require you to do every exercise after the chapter. It's too much.
Okay, I was
Just,
wondering because I was like, I did start some of them, but like I was like, do I have to actually do this whole chapter? I was like, let me double check to be sure.
yeah, I should write that. Please complete the exercise and the exercise for the chapters. I should write something like I give you the command, but I don't expect you to do that everything completely because it's too much. I know. But
Yeah.
what I require is just you submit a note is enough.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, I think I'm missing a grade. I don't know. I don't have my. Oh, actually, no. Wait. I think. Never mind. I am thinking of the wrong thing. I keep forgetting that it said like the chapter 1 quiz is until like what? It's a different quiz entirely because it says it's in May. Never mind.
Okay, yeah, that for chapter 1 is made because the quiz for the question bank for the chapter 1 is a little bit. I don't want to make it a real quiz because uh, the question there is too much.
Ah. Okay.
So you can take your time to do that,
Okay. Thank you,
and
Professor.
you may reading the referring to books or the chat GPTs any ways you want. So it's not an in-class quiz, but just a take-home quiz.
Okay. Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.